In this next session, we're going to take a look at continuing the work on our recipe project. What we're going to do here is apply some more styling to a table. But one of the things that we want to do is make our application a little bit more on the professional side by taking a look at how we can remove the inline styles that we have in our HTML and place them into a CSS document. The CSS document will be a separate file. So again, looking at our HTML document, we have an inline style specified by the style tags in the head element of our document. What we want to do is remove all of these styling elements out of the HTML document and into a separate CSS file. So the first thing we're going to do is copy all of the style elements, but we don't need the style tag, so we'll leave that alone. And then if we take a look at our folder structure here, we have a styles.css file, and we'll paste the information in that CSS file. Now most organizations will want to use a folder structure where you actually have a styles folder, and then you might have multiple CSS files within that. But for demonstration purposes, I'm just leaving it in the root folder where our HTML file is. Now that we've got that in a separate CSS file, in order to apply the styles, we need to create a link. So we need to link our style sheet into our HTML document. We do so with the link element inside the head tag. And then we set it up as a style sheet element, and then we specify the href, which is the actual file name itself. And again, if we had a folder structure, we would specify where to find it within that folder structure. And then we simply tell it that it is a text CSS file. Now what we're going to do is we're going to apply that CSS styling not just to the web page, but we're going to make some changes to our list of ingredients located down here underneath the salad image. Currently, the list of ingredients is a UL tag, and if we scroll into our HTML document and find it, we see that it's simply a UL tag with 3 list items in it. What we want to do is change this so that we can better represent the list of ingredients. Typically, you'll have an ingredient name and a quantity. So in order to work with that successfully, we're going to set up a table. So we'll replace this UL element and the 3 LI elements with the table element, and then we'll create 3 rows and 2 columns, one to support the ingredient name and one to support the amount of the ingredient itself. So let's go ahead and start replacing that UL with a table element. Then we'll create our first table row, and then within that first row we want to have 2 table cells. So the first TD we create, we're actually going to start applying class names to the table cells. So each one of the cells will have a different class name. So the first one we'll specify as ingredient, and this will actually contain the text for the ingredient itself. We'll put that in place, and then we'll go ahead and we'll create a second TD element, and we'll also give this TD element a class name. The class name that we'll specify here is called amount, so that we know this is for the amount field. Again, these class names will become important when we start manipulating the styling in the CSS file. So we had 3 ingredients listed prior, so what we're going to do is essentially just copy and paste that initial row, if you will, into 2 second rows, and then we'll have 3 rows all together. Now what we're going to do with each individual cell is we're going to change the text that is in the cell, and we're doing this for a specific reason, because what you'll see after we're done is how the text doesn't align very well on the table, mostly because of the different widths or the different quantities of characters that are in each one of the text items that we have. So this kind of messes the display of our table up a little bit when we refresh the document, and it's not very visually appealing. So we're going to use the CSS to apply some changes to style the table to make it a little more visually appealing. So now that we've got all of the values entered, again you can see we have some different text items in each one of these table cells, and that will help illustrate the point when we refresh that we have some alignment issues within the table, and again, it doesn't look very nice because we've got stuff that's pretty much all left aligned and the text doesn't look very nice. So we're going to apply some styling to fix that up. Okay, so let's switch over to our CSS style sheet, and then we'll get ready to make some changes to that table. I'm going to scroll to the bottom, and I'm going to work on adding all of the different styles that I want for the table down here at the bottom. So the first thing we want to manipulate is the table itself. We're going to specify a left margin for the table. And then if you recall, if we allow a border for the whole table, each one of our cells ends up with a border, and we end up with this double style bordering around the table, and we don't want that. So what we're going to do is we'll specify the border collapse style element in here so that we collapse the border from the table itself. We're going to apply a bottom border to each one of our table rows, and we'll set it as 1 pixel for the width, and we'll use a solid gray color for this particular border. Now that's the only styling we'll apply to the row. Now let's go ahead and apply some styling to our table cells. Again, remember, we used class names in our HTML document, so we're going to use those class names in the style sheet itself. So for the first one, which was the ingredient class, we want to apply some formatting to the text. So we're going to left align the text in our ingredient column. And we're also going to apply some padding. Now we're going to do a right padding for this so that we get a little more space on the right hand side of that cell. And it's just going to allow a little more space, which adds a little extra visual appeal when we've realigned our text. Now let's apply some styling to the amount column. So we use the td.amount, so that amount is our class name. In this case, we're going to do a right align on the text, and then because we've done a right align, we'll do a left padding, and again we'll use the same value, and this allows us to provide a little more space on the left hand side of the text. Again, just adding that visual separation in the table. Now that we have the styling applied, let's refresh our page and see what our table looks like. So there we have it. We've got a border underneath each one of the rows. We have left aligned text. We have no border around the entire table. Left aligned text in the ingredient column. And then we have right aligned text in the amount column. So it's a little more visually appealing. We have better spacing between the text, and it looks much better than it did initially. So just to recap, what we've done is we've taken our inline styles, moved them out into a separate CSS file, linked that to the HTML document, and then applied some styling using class names to our table, giving a little more visual appeal to that.